Hi, this is Ken Graham, the Director of the National Hurricane Center. Hurricane Preparedness Week, we're at our first stop, Quonset, Rhode Island. Look behind me, we got the aircrafts, we got the NOAA Hurricane Hunters, and we got the Air Force Hurricane Hunters on the other side. And so we're talking about hurricane preparedness today. And look at all the excitement. Dennis, you can pan around and see the line here. So we're really talking about the hazards. We're talking about all the different impacts from hurricanes. So you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna go visit some of the people on the line. So follow me, Dennis. Here's our first stop. So this is a young man, and we want to tell you, we're going to get real close to the camera here so you can pretend. You got to talk real loud. We want to ask you a few questions. First, what's your name?
Miles.
Miles, it's so wonderful to meet you. I wanted to ask you, when you close your eyes and you think of a hurricane, what do you see?
I see the eye of the hurricane, and I also see some clouds surrounding it. And I think of the ocean because when I think of a hurricane, it starts on the ocean. Because when it forms, it collects warm, moist air.
See, I think that's a really good answer, Dennis. It's unbelievable, but I do want to give you something really special. This is a National Hurricane Center coin just for you. It's from the Director of the Hurricane Center, so that way you can remember this and remember your time here today. What do you think of that?
Great.
Thank you, Miles. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So, Dennis, want to keep going. Let's find somebody else here in line. Find somebody else. How are you, sir? Ken Graham, the Director of the National Hurricane Center. Yeah, same thing. So we wanted to kind of ask you, we've been asking different people, talking about the impacts from hurricanes. When you close your eyes and you think of a hurricane, what do you see?
I see the eye, I see the size of a storm compared to other storms, I see the movement, the water and the wave action, and just the intensity of the storms compared to other storms.
Okay, perfect. So you enjoying it today?
Yes, very much so.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. It's perfect. Yeah, this is wonderful. Yeah, it's a great opportunity to talk about hurricanes and get ready for the season.
Weather nerds all over the place.
Including myself. Yeah. Exactly, that's perfect. So, you talk about hurricanes, you talk about what you see. Dave, introduce yourself first of all to all the viewers.
Sure thing. I'm David Vallee. I run the Northeast River Forecast Center up in Norton, Massachusetts. So we have to deal with both the freshwater and the ocean flooding that may go up our rivers and streams.
So, you heard some of the answers, and Dennis, for the audio, we're gonna have to follow pretty close here. You talk about the different threats, and generally speaking, when we close our eyes, a lot of people think about the wind. And, what is the number one threat? We really talk about what's hurting people and, the number of fatalities over the years. What's one of the bigger threats on hurricanes?
Oh, it's clearly the rainfall and the river flooding and the flash flooding that happens when these hurricanes drop tens, if not 20 inches or more of rain in a short amount of time.
So, if you think about that, and it's one thing that we talk about these systems, and it's not just coastal, right? What are we talking about? You got the storm surge coastal. What's one of the big factors far away from the coast? We're talking
Absolutely.
about.
It's the flash flooding. There's a variety of events like these pre-events, as we call them, these predecessor rainfall events that can arrive 2 or 3 days in advance of the core of the tropical cyclone. And if your community is hit by one of those heavy flash flood events, and then you're hit by the core of the tropical cyclone, then the flooding could be catastrophic. And that's something that we've seen with much true regularity over the last 5 to 10 hurricane seasons on the East Coast.
Sometimes we talk about, we were talking about all day with this event, Dennis. It's one thing to read about preparedness, it's another thing to see it. And we're living it here. You're actually seeing, the planes, you're meeting the people. And another really incredible thing that we have here is one of the hydrology models that we have. It's another way, one thing to read it, but it's one ththing to see it in action right here. So all day they've been giving tours and demonstrations of the actual hydrologic model. And I guess, just asking you, you guys are learning, and we could talk about it here. How does this thing work real quick? What are we demonstrating here?
Well, we look at a number of different conditions that can affect flooding in the downstream from an upland wetland area. So we normally take a constant volume of water, and we pour it into a tray and make it rain essentially over the wetland. And depending on the conditions in the watershed, the preliminary conditions, the wetland will release water into the downstream river. And again, the extent of the elevation rise or the flooding will all be dependent on what the different conditions are.
That's perfect. So I appreciate the demonstration. Once again, you know, we're live here in Quonset. We're going to come back here in the sun so we can pan around a little bit. This is Hurricane Preparedness Week. You know, it's really important. You start looking at how we demonstrate how to be prepared for Hurricane Awareness Week. It's one thing to read about, it's a whole other thing to be out here to experience it. We got all the heroes from the NOAA hurricane aircraft, the Air Force hurricane hunters right here. Long lines. We've been talking about hurricane safety all day, and I think we're really getting it done. So we've got more stops this week. We're going to be in Harrisburg, and we're going to be looking at Roanoke. We're going to Charlotte. We're going to Brunswick, Georgia. Keep tuning in. We're going to do this every single day this week. Now's the time to be prepared. You can't be prepared, you know, if you're worried about it when a hurricane's threatening you. You got to be prepared early. That's what we're doing. Be prepared for what could happen rather than what you think could happen. So we're talking about all this week. So I appreciate you being here live. Quonset, Rhode Island. We're talking about the Hurricane Awareness Tour 2019.